We had an extra day of February this year, and still it's already March just like that. The winter season in video gaming has typically always been the slowest, and much like the temperature outside, the video game industry tends to heat up once the weather does, and 2020 is looking to be no different. For Google Stadia, it is something that has been needed. One of the big detriments to Google's gaming platform has been the lack of a library, and even as recent as this week, and publications online are still pointing this fact out. Despite that, it's a new platform with a new way to develop games, so naturally the time of these releases will take time. That being said, March is shaping up to be the biggest release month for Stadia since its launch, and it has many people excited. So I wanted to take a few minutes and discuss all those games, and at the very end make a couple predictions for the rest of the month. Before we get started, if you are interested in the latest news, analysis, and reviews in the world of Google Stadia, don't forget to get subscribed and click that bell notification to stay up to date with my new videos when they go live. Yesterday was the first of the month, which meant new games for Pro subscribers. Admittedly, myself and many others within the community were expecting 2 more games to be added to the store today, but alas, we were wrong, as we will cover those games a little later on. But let's start with the blockbuster announcement that got dropped today. Grid is now available for all Pro members. Grid is a simulated racing game in which your abilities are rewarded and your lack thereof are punished. I was closing in on the top 4 in a race, but because I got greedy when I started hitting a turn, I threw that gas pedal down and tried to take advantage of their slower speeds. Needless to say, I skidded against the wall and the car behind me sideswiped me, and I wound up dropping from 5th down to 14th. As a fan of simulated sports titles, this is right up my alley, and personally, I can't wait to do a deep dive into the career mode aspect. But why this is such an important game to be launched for Pro members can be attributed to a couple factors. For one, this game is relatively new, as in it came out in October of last year, so it's less than half a year old and it's already a free game for Pro users. Additionally, an exclusive to the Stadia version of the game is the ability to do 40 car races online, and as Bill and Lloyd alluded to in their weekly Stadia cast yesterday, which you can watch in the top right corner, this is a big advantage for Stadia. Moreover, countless community events have been hosted with this 40 car race, most notably over on the Cloud Gaming X channel with Sunny. People ask what cloud gaming can do, and this is absolutely one of those powerful benefits. Initially, due to its niche nature of a game coupled with the current price barrier to enter the Stadia ecosystem, Grid's online lobbies have not been very easy to fill up. With the majority of Stadia users now having access to the game at no additional cost, the frequency of these 40 car events will likely increase. Outside of the Stadia exclusive side of things, Grid offers a unique AI system within races known as the Nemesis system. This game is hell-bent on the simulation aspect, so if you screw around with a particular driver too often, they won't hesitate to bring their own form of justice to you. The game boasts over 400 unique AI drivers, so nearly no experience will ever be the same. This game launched as part of the Stadia Pro lineup yesterday, and even though the game has already been on the platform for quite a while, I figured it was worth mentioning since most people will pick it up now. Now onto the actual new games coming to the Stadia platform. SteamWorld Dig 2 launched yesterday, available to Pro users at no additional cost. I've been a heavy proponent for more platformers on Stadia, and in the last 2 weeks we have gained 2 in the form of Spitlings and now SteamWorld Dig 2. This game has been around on other platforms for nearly 3 years at this point, but it's a fantastic game to add to the Stadia library due to its flexible nature of how you can play these games. SteamWorld Dig 2 follows the plot of the very first game, SteamWorld Dig. Within the SteamWorld games, it's a platforming 2D adventure game that adds some unique elements to the platforming genre. You are armed with a pickaxe to dig and combat enemies with. Additionally, Dorothy, the character you play as, can gain more assets for her repertoire. In fact, the game has some RPG elements sprinkled in like XP and upgrades to health, weapons, and abilities. There are quests for Dorothy to explore as well that will help with upgrading your character. I was playing SteamWorld Dig 2 before I started writing this episode, and I had to stop myself from playing so I could finish this video. I know other creators who are doing the same exact thing have had the same exact problems, so this game is actually really good, so if you have Pro, you should definitely check it out. And even if you don't, you should definitely check it out, and if you are in that mindset of, well, I don't want to renew my subscription just yet, you can add it to your library for just $19.99. The third and final game added to the Pro library, and also was made available yesterday, is also set in the SteamWorld verse in the form of SteamWorld Quest Hand of Gilgamesh. Unlike the other games in the series, the release of this game has been very limited, as it's currently only available on the Nintendo Switch and PC outside of the new Stadia release. Unlike the other games set in the SteamWorld verse, the gameplay is entirely different compared to its predecessors. That doesn't seem to bother many in the gaming community, as this game is held particularly in high regard. Hand of Gilgamesh is a turn-based role-playing game that mixes in the deck-building genre set to the backdrop of SteamWorld. Now, myself personally, this isn't the style of game that'll appeal to me, but I'm not ignorant enough to think that this is the case for everyone else. In fact, I felt like I saw more people anticipating this game more than any other of the SteamWorld games coming, and with that excitement, I know I'll be giving it a try, and therein lies the beauty of Stadia Pro. SteamWorld Quest Hand of Gilgamesh is not a game I'd ever buy just by looking at it, but its inclusion of Pro is going to let me try a game I'd otherwise not have given a second look. And with that in the future, I may be looking at a game genre I absolutely love. Time will tell for me when I get around to trying it out, but perhaps this game is exactly what you've been looking for, and good news for you because you can claim this game now, or base users can pick it up for just $24.99. Now, onto the games that have release dates and are scheduled to come out in March. On Tuesday, or well tomorrow, we will see the release of the Serious Sam collection for Google Stadia. The Serious Sam collection brings 3 Serious Sam games to the platform with Serious Sam HD The First Encounter, Serious Sam HD The Second Encounter, and Serious Sam 3 BFE. Also included will be the Legend of the Beast and the Jewel of the Nile DLC expansion packs that were part of Serious Sam 3. While the first-person shooter genre isn't necessarily lacking of titles on Stadia, this is definitely a unique take on what we've seen so far. Those unfamiliar with Serious Sam may be interested to know it combines elements of Doom and Duke Nukem for that amalgamation of what can only be described as a good time. This was definitely an out-of-left-field announcement when it was included in the collection of 5 games we got announced a couple weeks ago, but it has excited many fans. Players will get to take control of Sam Serious Stone in a fight against an extraterrestrial threat seeking to wipe out humanity. The collection allows for players to enjoy split-screen co-op locally, which is such an underrated, overlooked feature of modern gaming, and of course, we just got the release date this past Friday and everyone can pick it up starting tomorrow. Pricing is yet to be announced, but I would expect about $40, as that seems just about right for this collection of old titles. Was SteamWorld Dig 2 and SteamWorld Quest not enough? Well, then here are 2 more SteamWorld games coming at you on March 10th. Now, as I alluded to earlier, I anticipate on seeing these games launch on the same day as 2 and Quest simply for the fact, well, why would they not be? While we don't know the 100% answer to that question, we do know that they'll appear on March 10th in the form of SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Heist. Pretty much everything I said about SteamWorld Dig 2 could be replicated for the very first game. It's a 2D platform adventure that brings in those role-playing elements in the form of upgrading your gear, and this is the first game in the series and features the main protagonist Rusty, which will come into play in the second game. This game has been a critical hit and released for pretty much every system to this point. I'd expect a $9.99 price point for this game, and if it is done so there, it will be the lowest priced game on Stadia. Dropping that same day and in the same universe is SteamWorld Heist. Like SteamWorld Quest, it follows a different tempo when it comes to the gameplay. Oddly enough, it almost is a combination of all the games into one. While it's not platforming by nature, the side-scrolling and the climbing aspect of the Dig games are featured, while the role-playing strategy aspect of Quest is here. That's where the comparisons stop. SteamWorld Heist, by its very nature, is a turn-based strategy shooter game. And while those are genres you typically don't see intertwined together just based on gameplay alone, this game seems like an incredible fun adventure that I can see myself particularly liking. It found its way to all platforms including the Wii U and the PlayStation Vita, but not the Xbox One for whatever reason. That being said, it has also been out for a while, but it can fit very nicely into the Stadia library. I imagine this game's unique take on the turn-based strategy genre may be a turn-off to some, but has been highly regarded by those who have played it. I'd expect around a $14.99 launch price for this title when we see it next Tuesday on the 10th. And quite possibly the most anticipated game of the first quarter of 2020 when it comes to every gaming platform is the release of Doom Eternal. The follow-up to the 2016 instant classic will be making its way to all platforms, except for the Switch will release at a later date. Initially planned to release right around Stadia's launch in November, Bethesda delayed the game's release until March of this year to make it just a tad better. During my discussion with Chase on This Week on Stadia, which can be viewed by clicking the link in the top right, I mentioned that the delay may be a blessing in disguise if Stadia-based launches around this time, which many people are predicting at this point. Having a big game like Doom to be the focal point of trying this new service out seems like an easy layup, and having that flexibility that the Switch would have had at this time may be when Google should strike that proverbial iron. Needless to say, Doom Eternal will be a day one purchase for me when it launches on March 20th. The next confirmed release after Doom Eternal is Lost Words Beyond the Page. When the announcement of 5 new games were coming to Stadia, admittedly this game wasn't one I was paying too much attention to. With Panzer Dragoon on the horizon and Serious Sam in tow, Lost Words just didn't seem to be what would jump at me as something I'd be interested in right away. That aside, it has already won many accolades including Best Indie Title and Most Original Game at Game Connection Paris, and has proven itself to the Stadia community as a game many are anticipating. It's another 2D platform that immerses you into the story of young girl's diary, which is the backdrop for the game's entire premise. It is visually impressive, and throughout the gameplay videos that can be found on its official webpage, it provides a very unique take on the platforming genre. I'm still torn on if I'll buy this near launch or wait for a sale, but it's It's a game I'll watch with great interest from the side and see how well it does. But if this game does strike every chord for you, you can pick it up on March 27th, in which it'll be a Stadia exclusive for the next year. And those will do it for the confirmed dates in March, but we know of at least 2 more games that are anticipated to be coming in March, and that is in the form of Ubisoft's The Crew 2 and The Division 2. During Ubisoft's earnings call discussing the prior year's financial, the mentioned 2 games coming to Stadia during Q4 of the 2019 earnings year, and that is the aforementioned Crew 2 and The Division 2. We haven't been given concrete dates for these games, but we do know that The Division 2 will be gaining a new expansion pack in the form of Warlords of New York for all platforms beginning tomorrow. It wouldn't surprise me to see this game's release on the 10th or the 17th for Stadia. As for The Crew 2, we don't have much to go off in the way of narrowing down a possible release date, and with Grid being a pro game and Doom coming out later this month, The Crew 2 may suffer in sales due to this on Stadia. That being said, it is a game that has been highly anticipated to come to the platform, and Stadia users will be able to play it and The Division 2 at some point in March. Unannounced for the month of March are 2 games I want to get my predictions out there for, as I believe their release is highly imminent. Let's get the most obvious one out of the way, and that is Doom 2016. The 4th game in the Doom series was announced initially as a part of games coming to the Stadia platform, and is a game that many people have expected to be on the platform by now. But why not? Initially, Doom Eternal was set to come out in November, so perhaps Doom 2016 was ready by then, but due to the Doom Eternal delay, decided to hold off for whatever reason. And why would they hold off? What game comes with Doom Eternal pre-orders on all consoles but Stadia? Doom 64. Well, that's not a game that's been announced for Stadia, but there has been an additional Doom game that's been announced, so what if there is a pack-in game for Eternal on Stadia that was announced but not released yet? Now, I'm not saying Doom 2016 will absolutely be a game made available to those who purchase Doom Eternal on Stadia, but it makes absolute sense. What made more sense was making it a pro game and letting people fall in love with it and eventually buying the sequel on the 20th, but I'd expect Doom 2016 sometime in March to launch around the time Doom Eternal does. And with the postponement of the Game Developers Conference, we were expecting some detailed information on Get Packed, a game that has long been announced for Stadia, but one we have yet to see. This is another addition to the couch co-op genre that kind of looks a lot like Overcooked, and it looks like an absolutely hilarious game. Not sure how far this game goes in the single player side of things, but Get Packed looks like something many people will share laughs over, and its impending inclusion of Stadia exclusive features is exciting. Crowdplay being one of those features has many people excited with what Stadia only features can be found in a game like Get Packed. We know this game will more than likely appear in March, and once it does launch, expect it only on Stadia till the fall at the earliest, as it is a timed exclusive. So those are the games coming out in the month of March, and a couple of games I am anticipating coming out this month. What are you most looking forward to adding to your Stadia library? Let me know in the comment section down below, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, as it'll let more people find me just like you did. Additionally, if you really like this video and want to support the channel even further, we do offer memberships here. All you have to do is click join down below and you'll get early access to my new content when it finishes processing. So that means you can watch new videos anywhere from 5 to 20 hours before they launch publicly. As I mentioned before, get subscribed, as that is the easiest thing to do, as you'll stay up to date with all my new content. Follow me over at Club Stadia TV on Twitter, and join the Discord, which you can find down below in the description. It's a work in progress, I'll admit, but the more people that are interested in that sort of thing, the more I will be paying attention to it. And lastly, thank you, and party on.